I'm 108 years old, and I'll tell you something that still makes me uncomfortable. For most of my life, I didn't take care of myself because I thought I didn't matter that much. I cooked for everyone else. I worried about everyone else. I made sure everyone else had enough on their plate. But when it came to my own body, I just ate whatever was left. It took me many years to understand that staying alive this long wasn't luck. It was small, quiet choices with food. Not perfect choices, just steady ones. But I didn't always make them. When I was a young woman, food was simple. We didn't talk about health the way people do now. We ate what we had. I grew up on a small farm. My mother cooked every meal from scratch. Potatoes, eggs, beans, bread, greens from the garden, meat on Sundays if we were lucky. Nothing came in shiny packages. Nothing lasted for months on a shelf. If we wanted something sweet, she baked it herself, and it didn't happen every day. I married at 19. I had children quickly. Life became busy in a way that never really slowed down. I worked long hours, first at home and later in a laundry, standing most of the day. My hands always smelled like soap and hot water. When I came home, I still cooked dinner. Back then I didn't question what I was eating. Food was just something to keep going. I would eat quickly at the counter while the children talked over each other at the table. In my 40s and 50s, things started to change. Not in a dramatic way, just slowly. The grocery store had more options. Ready-made meals, canned soups, white bread that stayed soft for days, cakes already frosted, cookies already stacked in plastic trays. I was tired more often by then, so I told myself convenience was fine. I told myself I deserved something easy. Instead of soaking beans overnight, I opened a can. Instead of cooking oats slowly on the stove, I bought the sweet packets that took a minute in the microwave. Instead of water or plain tea, I sometimes chose something sugary because it felt like a treat in the middle of a long afternoon. Nothing terrible happened right away. That's the truth. I didn't fall ill. I didn't collapse. Life just felt heavier. My dresses fit tighter around the waist. I felt sleepy after meals. I would sit down just for a minute and lose half an hour staring at nothing. I blamed my age. I blamed stress. I never blamed what was on my plate. The garden we once kept started to fade. At first, I missed one season, then another. It was easier to buy vegetables than to grow them, easier to drive than to walk. The kitchen changed too. It used to smell like onions cooking slowly or bread rising in the oven. Later, it smelled like reheated food and something fried in oil. I didn't think much about it at the time. Everyone around me was eating the same way. It felt normal. In my 60s, after my husband retired, the house became quiet for the first time in decades. The children had their own homes. the laundry job ended. I found myself sitting at the table in the afternoon with no one asking for anything. That's when I began to notice my body more clearly. Getting up from a chair took effort. My knees felt stiff in the morning. My fingers ached when I tried to button my blouse. After lunch, I didn't feel satisfied. I felt weighed down. One evening I opened the refrigerator and just stood there. The light inside was bright. The shelves were full. But most of what I saw came in boxes, jars, and plastic containers. I remember thinking, this doesn't look like the food I grew up with. There were sauces with long labels I couldn't pronounce, drinks that looked cheerful but left me thirsty, bread that was soft but didn't fill me for long. I closed the refrigerator and leaned against the counter. The house was silent, except for the ticking clock in the living room. And I asked myself something simple. If I want to stay here a little longer, why am I eating like I don't care? There was no doctor giving me a warning, no dramatic moment, just a quiet realization in my own kitchen. I realized I had slowly drifted away from the kind of food that once made me feel steady. I had chosen what was fast instead of what was real. I had fed my hunger, but not my strength. The next morning, I made a small change. Nothing big. I cooked plain oats on the stove, the way my mother used to. It took longer than opening a packet. I sliced half an apple into it and sat down at the table to eat without rushing. It wasn't exciting. It was simple, but I didn't feel heavy afterward. That afternoon, instead of reaching for something sweet, I boiled a few eggs and kept them in the fridge. When I felt hungry, I ate one slowly. It kept me steady. Over the next weeks, I started soaking beans again. I let them sit in a bowl of water overnight. The next day I cooked them gently with a bit of salt and onion. The smell filled the house in a way I hadn't noticed for years. I didn't change everything at once. I didn't throw out the whole refrigerator. I just began choosing differently, one meal at a time. And for the first time in a long while, I felt like I was taking myself seriously. I didn't change everything at once. I didn't throw away every box or every jar. I just started choosing differently, one meal at a time. After the oats and the beans, I added more greens back into my days, simple ones. Cabbage sliced thin and cooked slowly. Spinach stirred gently in a pan with a little olive oil. Nothing fancy, just food that looked like it came from the ground. I began buying fish more often than red meat. I would bake it with a little lemon and salt. It felt lighter in my stomach. I could finish a meal and still feel able to move, to wash the dishes, to take a short walk. I kept eggs in my routine, soft-boiled in the morning sometimes, scrambled slowly on low heat. They reminded me of earlier years when mornings felt calmer. In the afternoons, instead of cake or packaged snacks, I kept a small jar of nuts on the table. Just a handful, enough to quiet my hunger without making me sleepy. and I slowly let go of sugary drinks. I went back to water, plain tea. At first it tasted boring, then it tasted clean. None of this happened overnight. I still had old habits. Some evenings I reached for something easy out of routine, but I started noticing how I felt after each meal, not in a scientific way, just quietly. If I ate something heavy and processed, I felt slow, my head felt cloudy, my patience was shorter. If I ate something simple and close to what I grew up with, I felt steadier, not energetic like a young woman, just steady. That steadiness became important to me. By my 70s, I could see the difference clearly. Some of my friends my age were struggling more than I was. We would sit together and talk, and I noticed how often the conversation turned to discomfort, to feeling worn out. I never told them what to eat. That didn't feel right. But inside I knew that returning to simple food had helped me more than I expected. Still, I have to be honest. Even with better choices, I carried regret, because there were years when I didn't feel fully present. Years when I was short with my husband because I felt uncomfortable in my own body. Years when my grandchildren wanted to run in the yard, and I chose the chair instead. I remember one evening clearly. My husband asked me to sit with him on the porch. The sun was going down. He had 2 cups of tea ready. I told him I was too tired. I had eaten a heavy dinner. I felt bloated and dull. I said maybe tomorrow. There were many tomorrows after that, but there were also days when he stopped asking, not out of anger, just out of habit. He's been gone for a long time now, and sometimes I sit on that porch alone. I think about how small daily choices added up, not just in my body, but in my moments. Food didn't ruin my life. I want to be clear about that. I made good memories. I loved my family. I worked hard. But the way I ignored myself cost me quiet energy. It cost me patience. It cost me some evenings that could have been lighter. The body keeps track in its own way, not loudly, not all at once, just in how you wake up, in how easily you stand, in whether you feel clear or foggy when someone you love is speaking. Now, at 108, my meals are very plain. Oats, beans, greens, eggs, fish, a few nuts, fruit when I have it, water, tea. I still enjoy a small piece of cake on birthdays. I still say yes to a warm slice of bread now and then. I don't believe in punishing myself. But most days I eat in a way that feels kind. Kind is the word I use, because at some point I realized food isn't just about weight or appearance. It's about how gently you move through your day, how much patience you have left in the evening, how steady your hands feel when you hold someone's face. If you are younger than me, which you most likely are, I won't lecture you. I will just say this: don't wait for your body to beg for change. Pay attention to small signals, the afternoon crash, the heavy feeling after dinner, the way your mood shifts. Choose food that looks like food, the kind your grandmother would recognize without reading a label. Cook when you can. Eat slowly. Sit down for your meals instead of standing at the counter like I did for years. And please, don't treat yourself like you are last in line. I spent too much of my life feeding everyone else first and finishing what was left. I thought that was love. But love also means keeping yourself strong enough to sit on the porch when someone asks. You don't need perfection. I certainly never had it. Just small, steady choices, day after day. I am 108. I wake up each morning slowly. I walk carefully to the kitchen. I make my simple breakfast. I sit at the table and chew without rushing. There is no secret, no miracle. Just years of finally deciding that I mattered too. That has carried me this far. And when my time comes, I will go knowing that in the later part of my life, I learned to be a little kinder to myself. That feels honest, and that is enough.